Welcome back, folks, to the WP-Tonic in this week in WordPress and Tech. It's our first episode of 2022. I survived, well, kind of semi-survived the Christmas, New Year. I was skiing, folks, on Wednesday, and a snowboarder took me out. I was hacking down. He rammed into me. I was heading straight for a learner group to wipe out a heavenly ski instructor and 15 children, and I took it for the children. So I laid myself and I went for the biggest wipeout in my skiing career, folks. I was told that I actually somersaulted twice in the air and landed on my back. But I haven't broken anything, so I think
I'm impressed. That's way too much adventure.
So I was impressed with your picture, by the way, Jonathan.
So I'm a bit bruised and battered, Panel. So if I'm more outrageous than normal, it's because I've been taking painkillers a lot. And Sally knows what the consequences of that is. So I just thought I'll warn you, Panel. So I've got my excuse, and listeners. So let's so like I say, it's going to be our first show of the year. We're going to go into a message from my major sponsor. I'll be back in a few seconds. We're coming back. I just want to point out that Castos also got a great offer for you, Tribe, and also there's a resource that also has got some great offers and recommendations, and you can get all that by going to WP-Tonic / my mind's gone blank, WP-Tonic / recommendations. That's it. Go there and you'll be able to see the Castos special offer and some other great offers and recommendations. So let's go straight. I'm going to let the panel quickly introduce themselves, and then we're going to go straight into the first story. Got a great returning guest. Got Tom Cassius. Would you like to quickly introduce yourself, Tom?
Sure. Tom Fanelli with Convesio, and we help people scale WooCommerce, membership sites, and large traffic publishers.
That's great. And I've got some great female panelists. So I'm going to let Heather. Heather, would you like to introduce yourself to the panel, to the tribe? Oh, she's gone.
Heather is Heather froze.
That's a no. I think that was a no.
No, I think that's the no.
You offended her already? I mean, geez.
That was short and sweet. Sally, would you like to introduce yourself?
Certainly. I am Sally Getch, rhymes with Sketch, the WP fangirl, and ADD Kitty is here today.
Yes. Stephanie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, guys. I'm Stephanie Hudson with Focus WP, where we help agencies to scale and grow by providing outsourced white label staffing.
Yeah. And I've got my friend, John. John, would you like to introduce yourself?
John from Lockdown SEO.
And I've got my friend, Spencer. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, it's Spencer Foreman from WP Launchify.
And I've got Heather returning again. Heather, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Heather Wild-Renzi. I am the CTO of the Difference Consulting.
I'm looking forward to another year, listeners and viewers. It's going to be the same targets, the same shoddy companies and individuals. I'm pretty sure they will provide an endless source of stories for me and the panel to take the mickey out of them consistently. I've got a feeling that there's no chance that the same old characters will not appear again. So we will start again. We will start again with Yoast moves outside open source platform to Shopify. So Spencer, what did you think of this story?
I mean, it was a surprise, but I actually think it's a good idea for them. I don't usually say one product is better or worse or other as another, but it's undeniable that Yoast is one of the biggest plugins in WordPress and one of the most known brands, let's put it like that. That comes with certain responsibilities and burdens of their history. So I would like to I would like to think of this.
This is like, did you make a New Year's resolution to be tactful?
Yeah, I'm trying to take it down a notch. The point is that everybody deserves a fresh start. So if you have a problem in your high school, your hometown, your college, you move somewhere else and you change your name. Well, they're not changing their name, but they're moving to a new platform. So I think this, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, is an opportunity both financially as well as reputation wise to do things differently, where maybe in the past they've done it here. Also, Shopify, worth noting, I have a lot of developer friends there. Remember, we talked about it a few shows ago in last year. Unlike WordPress, the developers are in a locked-in subscription relationship, right? So it's only a RESTful API. If you want stuff done, you need to pay for it on a monthly basis. So from a revenue standpoint, there's a lot of opportunity for Yoast to get their hooks into people, where as long as they don't talk in public too much, they'll be fine, you know. There you go, Sally.
Yeah, I'm saying, John, you know, obviously I've got a bit of a history. I've got a bit of a history with Yoast personally and the brand in general. So I'm going to keep my comments to myself. So what do you reckon, John?
You know, a smart move for Yoast, or I should say their EIG overlords, to branch into Shopify. You know, Shopify really I see as one of the main competitors to the WordPress.com project. It's definitely the CMS which is growing the fastest, you know, for WordPress. So I think an intelligent move. They're not going to have to worry about free users just piggybacking, or the freemium system of WordPress. So I think this will end up helping that subsidiary pretty well. So, but they're still contributing to the WordPress project. So you know, that's interesting too, how that's approached.
Yeah,
So.
sure. So what do you reckon, Heather? I think it's a pretty good move, don't you reckon, Heather? Oh, she's going to go. She doesn't like me, Heather. I think she's going.
I think maybe it's that StreamYard doesn't like her.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you reckon, Stephanie?
I think, I mean, what took them so long, maybe? I don't know. This just seems like they've got a big plan, right? They're gunning for real growth. They've hit a big market saturation in WordPress, of course. And so now then they sold the business, or, you know, they got bought out, and now they're branching out to other, I mean, I don't know. I don't find any of this shocking. I think it just totally makes sense for them to keep doing this.
Yeah, I think so.
I wonder who will be next. You know, this is the trajectory. This isn't an end. This is a beginning of their big moves, I would guess.
So, Spence, if you can, when Heather returns after rebooting, can you let her in? I don't know if you can.
I gotta, let me start up the other administrator thing.
So, Tom, what did you reckon about this, Tom?
I was actually really surprised, just given the Newfold acquisition of these guys. I kind of wonder if this wasn't something already in the pipeline being built, but it's been 6 months and it's just getting released. Like, I don't know what the competitive play here is for Newfold, right? And so in my mind, having worked at a host that hosts millions of sites, you know, hosting providers like the old EIG and Newfold guys are trying to get into the services space. And so acquiring a plugin like Yoast makes it really easy to say, hey, we've got some basic SEO service we can upsell you to for, you know, $50 a month, whatever it might be, right? So acquiring that company from Newfold's perspective was, I thought, really good. They're a leader in the space. They've got tons of customers using the plugin, and Newfold could potentially roll out an SEO service standardized on dialing in Yoast for people, right? But Newfold's not going to grow their hosting revenue with a Shopify base.
Yeah,
so that's the part that I'm a
do
little.
Do you think Newfold might be thinking, yes, but we're kind of saturated in the hosting, that we may not be able to grow that much in hosting, and therefore, as you said, like, need services. I mean, you know, if Yoast makes big money from the Shopify move, Newfold is going to collect some of it.
Right, absolutely. But it's probably going to be so insignificant compared to their bottom line But I do think you're right though. Like I think that big hosting providers look at the fact that they've got millions of customers, and they're like, how can I get more revenue out of these? Because it's easier to get revenue out of existing customers than to acquire new ones. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yes,
I actually,
they can't host Shopify sites.
Yeah,
so.
As a standalone company, though, if I was Yoast, I'd be like all for this. I'd be like, that makes total sense. Like, do something for Wix, while you're at it.
Yeah, I think they will. So, Heather, you've returned, Heather. So, what I have returned. So, what do you reckon? I can. In a way,
Yeah.
but Tom was saying in some ways because they're overlords of hosting providers in some ways, and I agree with Tom. It doesn't quite make any sense, but on the other side, it does make some good sense, doesn't it, Heather?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good idea. I mean, the more options for them to gain revenue and market share, absolutely, that's what they should do. And I think moving in one at a time is a good idea. I have a bit of experience with trying to go to every platform at the same time, and and it's not. I think looking and seeing where the people are and going there. Shopify is where it's at now, so that's where they should go.
Yeah, right. All right. On to the next story. Oh my God.
I want to say one more thing, which
Yeah.
is just, it really struck me that the only comments on this tavern post were about Google and AMP and nothing about like Shopify or Yoast. And you would think there would have been more opinions within the WordPress community.
I'm surprised that crowd on the tavern even heard of Shopify. There we go. Sorry, I'll get some comments for that one. On to story 2. Oh, I'm going to keep my comments to myself to a certain degree. US jury finds female's founder Elizabeth Holmes guilty. Well, Stephanie, can you do it in her voice, though? I know you'll be recovering from the virus, but I was just looking forward. So I'm going to start with you, Stephanie, and if you can do the voice, please.
I can't believe I'm guilty. It's the worst. Come on. It's so silly at this point. I'm just kind of like looking at what everybody's. I'm like, finally, she's at least not wearing the black turtleneck. She at least ditched her Steve Jobs turtleneck. She had like one of the nicest outfits I've seen her wear. All these photos in this article, why are they all holding hands like they're about to take a bow after a play or something? Like, it's all just so bonkers. And they said like, oh, she kept her composure when they read the verdict. No kidding. She's been acting for years. Like, this woman has been telling bold-faced lies to people for how long now? Like, I'm pretty sure she could keep a straight face when she needs to, but anyway, I don't know. It's all just crazy.
I'm so tempted to say, I'm going to save it till the end. So Spencer, what do you reckon about the blessed Elizabeth? I think she was a bit foolish. She should have just pleaded guilty and just said, I'm really, really sorry. And I think she would just got a slap on the hand, really.
I never practiced criminal law, but as a civil lawyer and a negotiator, I can say one of the consistent results we're seeing, and you saw this with the Felicity Huffman and the lady from Full House thing, is that prosecutors are politicians. If you are facing some serious bad juju, you probably should make a deal and not fight it, because otherwise you're just giving them a platform to roast you on a spit. And it's interesting because we know the WeWork guy and his wife are living on a yacht in an island somewhere with the Japanese funds money, but Elizabeth's going to be going to San Quentin or wherever resort she's going to. And it's because I think she didn't negotiate a deal. I mean, even for fraud, she could have negotiated a much better result than this. And
doesn't that track perfectly though with her MO? Like, it's like a delusional situation. Like, you just wonder, like, she really believes, like, you almost feel like she really believes that she's not.
Really, I mean, people are vulnerable to believing their own hype.
Never.
I mean, look at Ghislaine Maxwell. That's a whole different level of like conspiracy stuff. But the point is, like,
pretty sure that name is pronounced Ghislaine.
She's gonna go. She may not be dead like the other guy, but like, the results for two people in the same situation can be very different, right? And one of them is like he's gone, but the other one was like Felicity got like a reasonable but lightweight slap on the wrist, is probably appropriate because she was contrite. The Full House lady, I can't think of her name right now, fought it and spent millions and did hard time because they were making an example for their political career. This sentence is going to be interesting, but I guarantee they're not going to just let her have 6 months. I mean, she's going to
she's going to do some real time, and she could have avoided it, I think, if
Lori
she plead guilt, done a plea guilt and, said, I'm totally sorry, and just cried in front of the court, whatever was necessary.
Never say you're sorry.
I'll give you a break. So, Heather, I think in some ways last time I brought this up, I was being a little bit harsh on Elizabeth. But I think the reason
Just a little.
Well, some ways, not some ways. But I think the reason why I'm fascinated by it, Heather, is class. Because I come from the worst class-ridden country in the world, Britain, right? And America, it's not in your face so much as in Britain, but it's there a lot. And I think she just I see her as a drifter supremo that believed her own nonsense, but kind of moves from one train wreck and one scenario to the other. And that's the bit that fascinates me. What was your feelings about the whole thing, Heather?
Well, I mean, she is I still go back to, like, she hasn't done anything differently than a lot of other founders have done. I mean, she was playing by a playbook that all of the Silicon Valley companies have been taught to do. Like, we teach this in Y Combinator, we teach this in the boot camps. Like, you have to fake it till you make it. And like, I mean, yeah, she's a detestable kind of human being. Like, people don't like her. I mean, it's the same thing we don't like about Hillary Clinton. Like Hillary Clinton was never going to be president because people don't like her. But
it's pretty hard that as a woman, you're required to be likable. And as a CEO in Silicon Valley, you are required to be an asshole.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I don't agree with that.
No.
It's the role model.
Yeah,
but it's not every individual. But think about, like, Steve Jobs is her role model, right?
Yes.
Think about Steve Jobs as a person.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be, like, in order to be successful in business, you have to be just the right amount of attractive and charming. And I mean, you can't be like super attractive for a guy or a woman, or else people think you're dumb. And you can't be like too charming or people think you're a swindler. So like, you have to be in that like kind of like narcissistic, like confident role. But if you're a woman, they think you're an ass, like bossy, like you're totally put off. But if you're a man, that's the sweet spot. So like, if you're just the right amount of attractive and just like enough confident, then like they'll follow you to the grave. Like, even if you're like this like asshole, like harasser kind of person. But like, when you see an Elizabeth Holmes, it's like, there's just something off. But with a guy, like that something off is forgivable somehow.
I really don't agree with you there, Heather. So, Tom, my problem with her is I just want to see, because I see you as the word of reason in some way, Tom.
Beard, it's the beard that does it.
So, yeah, it's the beard, isn't it? So, my problem with the Blessed Elizabeth is that it's medical testing. It isn't computers or some app. We're talking about medical.
Great question about why we're talking about it so much.
We're talking about.
It's also, I mean, it's interesting that they convicted her of defrauding investors, but not of defrauding patients.
Yeah, but I found out that the bar actually, Spencer would probably know a bit more. The bar to finding her guilty on that particular is much higher than the ones that they found her guilty. When you look in, and I'm only going by some experts that I watched, but they were saying the bar of proving that 3 charges was actually much higher than the 4 charges that she was found guilty. So back to you, Tom. My problem with the Blessed Elizabeth is it's medical testing, and it was the amount of bull BS, and and also she seemed to have a panache to get bouncers, thugs, lawyers to try and intimidate anybody that realised the truth about her. So those 2 things, it's medical, plus she got the heavy mob to try and intimidate a lot of people that really mark her as a target for me. Can you understand why I'm not that in love with her?
Absolutely. I mean, I think I actually was a little surprised she only got convicted on 4 of 11 counts. I think that was the final, right? Like, I thought she got off. I was like, really? I mean, look, she put her competitor's product inside her product and sold it as hers. Okay. I mean,
Gee, we've never seen that happen in WordPress.
and I mean, I think that, here's the thing. And I disagree with that comment that this is what, SF Silicon Valley startups are told to do. Like, I agree. We say fake it till you make it a lot, but that doesn't mean deceive. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a line there between being positive, optimistic, and selling something that's a future goal versus we've done something totally deceitful in our product, and we're never going to probably be able to deliver on our future goal. And now we're not sure what to do. So we're just going to deceive people and raise more money. And so I do think that, I think you're right. I mean, this is look, we would be feeling, look at Bernie Madoff. Okay. We would be feeling a lot worse and a lot more, prosecutorialness towards Elizabeth if she defrauded retirees out of their life savings, but she defrauded venture capitalists out of money. And so I kind of feel like, she's getting off a little light at this point, given the gravity and the scope of what she's done. I think the thing that I'm looking for is I'm wondering what the ramifications of this are going to be through the VC world for startups. And this case is going to set a lot of precedent. And I think she was the worst possible founder, CEO that, man or woman, like, she did very, very deceitful, illegal things and broke the bond of trust with her investors, which is the worst thing you can do.
Right. So, John, so you've heard, what do you feel about things? Do you think I'm being a little bit harsh on the Blessed Elizabeth, or do you think she's been lucky so far, but her luck's coming to an end, really?
I'm going to take this a different direction. The interesting thing is Elizabeth Holmes was able to succeed because in her fraud, partially because she got the benefit of the doubt in so many ways. You had people like Mad Money Jim Cramer singing her praises, saying she's the next Steve Jobs. She adopted this, kind of female Steve Jobs persona with the black sweatshirt and all that. But, these VCs willingly lined up to give her money and invest in that. Now, I know that it's difficult for women. It is definitely easier to get funded if you're a guy in tech. But it's an interesting thing. She did receive the benefit of the doubt in a lot of ways. And I'm going to share this stat with you here. In 2020, Black founders received only 0.6% of all VC money. And in 2021 so far, they've received 1.2%. So I'm going to posit to you that even though she was a woman, and that's a disadvantage, definitely in the tech world, because it is kind of built for white guys. And you can see our panel now, it's all white people. I think that she was able to benefit from that one attribute that she, was born with. And I would challenge people in the VC world, or anybody who's in a position of power, to invest more in underrepresented groups, and you would probably avoid some of these types of situations.
I'm just going to give Heather the opportunity. See, Heather, I do understand, but where I fundamentally disagreed with you, Heather, is that I think people, they promote the good things about their product and service. Well, I do. And I don't volunteer the information about the bad bits, the bad news bits. And I think most sensible lawyers, they do the same. They would give the evidence that helps their client and not promote the bad evidence. That's very different to outline, brutal lying, brutal misrepresentation of facts, of manipulating data. I really think she really went down a road in a big way, Heather. So how would you respond to that, Heather?
I mean, she is someone that is like extremely narcissistic, that she's extremely naive, that like did not finish school, that she could have benefited from a lot of advice from good people, and was, if you paid sorry, if you paid attention to the trial at all, you saw like the path that she went down was that she was naive and brainwashed. I don't think she was as naive as she was playing it off, but she was 19 when this started. And if you pay any attention to TikTok at all, you see like all of these 19-year-olds are very impressionable. And they think they know everything. I don't remember how stupid I was at 19, but I'm sure I was very, very stupid at 19.
You didn't think you were at 19.
Exactly.
Well, none of us do, but I'm really glad that there was no social media when I was that age.
Exactly. And so so one of the things that recently, I think, I can't remember which of the stars said it best. Oh, actually, no, I think Billie Eilish, hosting SNL recently, put up a picture of herself at 16 years old. And she's like, guys, I'm having to live my life in front of you, and all of the choices that I'm making as a teenager and as a woman as I'm growing up. Like, you're judging me for all of this that I'm going through before I'm a formed human. And like, this is not fair. Like, I'm having to live my life like with these decisions that I know every day are stupid. And like,
I do understand where you're coming from, but the instant response to you saying what you've just said is that these people volunteer to have that examination. It's not imposed upon them.
Well, no, part of it is that we as adults, like the adults that bought in, like especially most of her board are like grandfathers. Like they were people that should know that she was 19 years old.
Kind of gross when you think about what.
But like the fact that she wasn't a formed human at that point in time. Like, the blame is on both sides.
Yeah,
I think something else too.
Yeah, go on.
I think, like if you really stop and think about the scenario, like if we could take Elizabeth sort of out of it, but if you're going to do something that truly is revolutionary, like if you want to create something that does make people's lives better, but it doesn't exist yet, right? So you have this idea. How do you bring that into existence without raising a ton of money for it? And it's like there's this journey where at what point do you realize like it's not going to work? And now you're tens of however much you are in debt, when you realize, what do? Do you just keep pushing like we can get there? Or like through any sort of fundraising process to develop new technology, you're going to have to be a hustler, not like in an entrepreneur way, but I mean, like you're going to have to hustle some people and convince them that your idea, which doesn't exist, might exist.
Yeah,
so, like,
but
this whole thing.
But the funny thing is, it was all unnecessary because it's a bit like WeWork. Because at the core of WeWork, there is a good business, and at the core, all they needed to have said is that we had this big ambition, but this testing for these 100 or 200 we're not going to be able to do that. But we still feel that we can improve the blood testing industry a considerable bit, and we've pivoted, and this is what we propose to do. And
if she was more mature, maybe that would have happened.
It would have.
It might not, too. I mean, it's not that she doesn't deserve to go to jail. It's just that I don't know that she deserves to go to jail any more than a number of people like Mr. Newman who have not.
Yeah, we're going to go for a break. We'll be back with some other great stories, listeners and viewers. We'll be back in a few moments. We're coming back. The panel will be excellent. I've tried not to interrupt so much. If you want to sign up for the WP-Tonic weekly newsletter, just go to any of the episode pages and you will be able to sign up for that. And I do a commentary normally on the Friday show. We have links to all the stories that we talk about and extra stuff. It's a great newsletter. Please sign up for it. So let's go on. Oh God, I have to watch what I say here. Sorry. Right, can Matt Mullenweg save the internet? Right, who I'm going to let's choose Spencer. What? Then there's a second one. There's a video plus a written piece about the great leader's thoughts about how he is the savior, the second coming of the internet. What do you reckon? Spencer? Has he been chosen?
Can he do it? Will he personally save the internet like Iron Man? I thought the article was interesting for a couple of reasons. First of all, interesting color choice on the artwork and the shirt. I don't know if that was intentional, but as a graphic person, I was fascinated with the array of colors and directions, going on there. As an aside, they did mention his penchant for vitriol. I'm quoting the word. I love the word vitriol. But the idea is they acknowledge in the article that he's this Clark Kent, mild-mannered person, except there have been some instances in the past, which we all have talked about, that are no longer. And I found that that's fascinating because it's very rare that a writer who doesn't know the person could find that kind of stuff out. So David Pierce, kudos for having at least pointed that out. But the rest of it is interesting because I did watch the State of the Word, and he put on the Matt Mullenweg, mild-mannered CEO kind of thing in the room of everybody. My opinion is this. This is the year. This is like I've been talking about here. This is the year where WordPress moves from a DIY platform into a commercially viable ecosystem with a focus on enterprise and a lot of people vying to buy up all of the plugins and all of the components. And I think Tom knows what I'm talking about, and I've talked about this on the show, that we have passed the point where a little tinkerer in their garage is going to come out by themselves with anything for very long, because as soon as they sort of poke their head above the ground, somebody will swap them, snap them up. And that's a necessity. But it's also the beauty of the system, because for right now, this is the California gold rush in WordPress. And Matt Mullenweg has his work cut out for him this year, because Automatic has been buying strategic things, but mostly burying the bodies in their backyard, right? Like no BS CRM, and there's a couple other companies. They get bought up, they get a news article, and then they disappear. I think that that's a very interesting world we live in.
Or
where
they get
other-
rebranded as Jetpack, whatever.
Well, they either get put in a jetpack or they get buried. And so what I'm saying is, I think this year we're going to see Automatic getting some stiff competition from other people and other entities that are trying to consolidate the things that will make WordPress a platform, a true platform versus a backyard barbecue. And so that is, to me, the point of this article, that can he lead Automatic and his investors in this versus is he the person that the rest of us are following? Because I think it's without saying that none of us here are waiting to hear what Matt has to say. We're all just doing our thing. Matt represents his interest in Automatic, and that's enough.
So, John, what was your take on the blessed leader's vision of savior of the internet then?
Oh, the internet is in general is I just seen somebody say this, that it's moving toward instead of being free, it's more about everything getting bought up, or in the case of Web3, selling you things or producing ownership for things you can't own. It's funny to me that in the protocol article, he has all this vitriol for Zuckerberg and some of these other tech leaders, calling them dictatorial, and that's what you are in this. The 43% of the internet thing, I mean, and I'll bring this up again and again. The number that they care about is the WordPress.com share. And we don't know what that share is, but that's where the valuation of Automatic comes from, primarily. And so they're trying to compete against things like Wix and Squarespace and Duda. Shout out to DudaCon, all white guys on their festival. Whether he can get there or not, I mean, that's the big question. But the web itself doesn't need a savior. The web itself will always have different people that, innovate and keep it open. I would hope. I think that, the Web 2 era with Facebook and stuff like that is really, it was cool at first, but it is kind of a step backwards. I don't see WordPress getting to something like 60% share. I don't think it'll ever happen. I understand why he's doing what he's doing. He wants to be like Jack Dorsey or Mark Zuckerberg, and I understand that. But yeah, that's basically all it's about. And we're just doing our thing.
So Heather, I kind of see, because this I see kind of linked to this term Web3 that's bandied around, like the days where Web 2 was bandied around. I do really see something substantial around blockchain, about actually removing the need of somebody like Matt Mullenweg and removing the need of Automatic. But on the other hand, when it comes to cryptocurrency, I see a lot of that as being the worst of the web in the early days of 2000. I see a lot of drifters, con artists really being attracted to cryptocurrency, but I think he's taking his own Kulak a bit too much, really. What I've just said and the interviews in general, Heather?
Well, I mean, every time you say Web3, I'm just like, I roll my eyes. Yeah, I know. I mean, and as a CTO, like my company's like, we need to build Web3 into every project. And I'm like, no.
How cliche.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a thing. Like, I mean, that's the thing. Like,
That's like, can you please add some viral to this video?
yeah. I'm like, what? I don't like, not everything needs to be a DAO, guys. So yeah, I mean, as somebody that actually lived in an RV and on a boat and did the whole like, it's like I had my router that connected to like every mobile possible hotspot and Wi-Fi like
That was my
I did-
favorite part of this article. That whole part.
yeah, like
It
I
was
did
on
that. I did that in 2008. Like way to be ahead of the curve there, Matt. So yeah, no. I mean, I think that it's good that he's trying to like be one of the people now. And yeah, I mean, he needs to see what's out there, because that's like he's a developer at heart, and I mean that's what you need to do. Like you need to tinker, you need to see all of the new hotness in order to make your company grow. And I mean, Automatic is running automatically. Like, I mean, it's going. He's bored. The problem is, like, whenever I start to tinker when I'm in a company, that means it's time for me to move on. So what I read in this is that, like, he's done. Like, he's looking for something new. That's what I got from this article.
You think he's getting out?
I think that,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he necessarily knows that he is yet.
Yeah.
But Heather knows. Listen, Heather has cited TikTok, Billie Eilish, and she
She's
was in the
on
RV
fire. She's
20
on
years
fire.
before. Like,
She lived on a
Heather
boat.
Heather
Heather
knows.
has had the coolest life. Eh,
You make me look so boring.
I mean, man,
There we go.
I
There we
do.
go.
I see him showing up in the post status Slack channel lately, which is interesting to me because
Oh, you never
re-
come on
it-
this show, though. do we?
it's rather surprising when you're just chit chatting with, well, you know, there's Yoast is in there, a bunch of other people, but like all of a sudden Matt pops in and makes a comment. It's sort of like you're having a party in the basement and your parents come home.
No, but that's the thing. Like, I know, like, when I'm in a company, when I've built it, and when I suddenly have made myself redundant, I mean, not that like when I'm like the person that has built the company and I've made it so good that it doesn't need me anymore, suddenly I start looking for projects. And I'm like, oh no. Like, I mean, yeah, like, and I'm the kind of person that, like, I need something to do. But like, if the thing that I've done is so good, like if my kid's gone to college already, then like I need to like start building that hydroponic garden in the backyard, or I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wait, are you saying you want to have another kid?
Well, I mean, that's why I have 6 companies
I
going
have
right now,
known
and I
people
started
who've
my
done that.
nonprofit. Like, I mean, I've got my nonprofit that I'm already starting for, like, that I'm building up so that when I leave my current company, I've already got that going, you know, like, and that'll just see me through the end of the rest of my life.
So Tom, bless you, Tom. I see and I see it in myself a bit. There's like 3 Jonathans. There's competing Jonathans in my head. Don't worry, I don't think I'm schizo yet, but there are definitely competing Jonathans going on. And I see this so clearly in Matt. There's kind of multiple Matts in the same person competing, and that ends up in can end up in a bit of a hot mess, can't it? Am I being? Is there anything in that observation, or do you think I'm really gone off the big end?
What does
Well,
the other Jonathan think?
well, you know, one of the most interesting parts to me of that whole conversation was when he got pinned down on, you know, but wait a second, he was talking about like DAOs and, you know, open source, and the interviewer was like, well, wait a second, but Automatic is a company that you run and you're sort of the head of that company. And he's like, yes, but we make software that is anyone can use. I was like, whoa, that's an interesting dilemma of
the interviewer in that little video clip that Jonathan linked for us. She was good because she kept pushing him on that. And there is an inherent contradiction in wanting something to be open and simultaneously wanting to dominate it.
Yeah, there is. And here's the thing, I think, Jonathan, from my perspective, like one, I forget who said it was Heather or Stephanie, part of the role of a CEO is to be different, wear different hats, right? And one of those hats is a visionary. And Matt is a tinkerer, and that's probably one of the ways he expresses his creativity. And I know when I tinker, I get new ideas that I can incorporate into the vision of my company. And so I think that a lot of the concepts of Web3 right now are so early in being formed. But I'll tell you a quick Christmas story, okay? So I
They're round
had
children.
a Web3 epiphany over Christmas.
You haven't told, have you?
What?
You haven't, have you?
I have. And so we got my kids, I actually won at a Christmas party and re-gifted it to my kids, an Oculus Quest, okay? And it was the first time I had really experienced VR. And I now understand why why big companies like Facebook and lots of large brands are very, very interested in the metaverse, okay? I really, really do think that, I don't know what the time frame is, I'm not going to be as bold to predict it, but there is going to come a day where, like we spend a ton of hours on our phone, we're going to be spending a lot of time in VR. And maybe it's not our generation, maybe it's the next generation, but it is coming because the virtual reality world with remote working, distributed workforces, and it being so early in this technology, it has the ability to make everyone local, but yet be completely distributed. And so that is one of the promises and the foundation of a lot of the stuff we're seeing that makes Web3, like NFTs, DAOs, all of these things I think are going to converge with VR. And so I think that it's right, if you're the visionary of a big company, to be thinking about the implications of these things. I think Matt thinks he's maybe well-positioned, maybe overly well-positioned to leverage this. And there's this crazy narrative of like, this might save the web, right? But, I do think that this is part of his job as a visionary, is to be looking at Web3 and how it might benefit them. And I think that that's going to be a big deal in the coming years.
Stephanie, my blessed Stephanie.
I lost the title, Stephanie.
Why is everybody blessed?
I lost the title to those comments.
But I do sense it in myself, and I don't want to overemphasize. I don't hear voices, but there are different. I don't know how to put it. Different sides of my personality, Stephanie. There's different, and they compete with one another. There's a good side, there's a bad side, there's an indifferent side, there's a selfish.
The little
side.
angel here and the little devil.
Yeah,
there.
it's always, but at least I'm aware. And I just sense in Matt there's an element. I really want Automatic to go public and make tons of money, and then there's the hippie side, the open web. We're around the bond like the old days of WordPress, where we were all hacker developers and it's all going to be opens. It just seems to be totally competing parts to Matt. That when you put them all together, it doesn't really make a lot of coherent sense. What do you?
I mean, aren't we all, like, anybody interesting and anybody successful is a little bit like that, right? Unless they just were born into money or something. But I mean, I don't know. You guys always have such deep thoughts about all these things that I never do. But the fact that this guy is such a geek and he likes to tinker with, like, okay, so Heather's like, I've been there, done that. But to me, I thought that was awesome. I think it's awesome that you did it too, Heather. But like, he's like networking together all these things and playing with the hardware in addition to the software. And then he's quoting Plato and other philosophers. And he's like, I don't know. I find him to be just such a fascinating person. It's like you read these random little snippets of things that he says. And it's like, to me, I just can see that he is such a phenomenally intelligent person. That's what I read between those lines. does that translate into somebody who is good? I don't know. You know what I mean? Not necessarily. Anybody with enough power or enough ego, no matter how smart you are, whatever
In fairness,
bad. But
in fairness, Stephanie, I wasn't making any assertion that he's good or bad. I'm making
no, I know
I'm
you
making
weren't,
the insertion that it seems to be all over the place. That's what I was.
yeah, I feel like that all the time too, don't you? I mean, isn't that kind of what you were just saying? Like you feel all these conflicting things inside of you. Like, aren't all of us in this entrepreneur space and in this crazy world of
Oh
new
no, I've kind
things?
of done
We're all a little
it.
bit like that, aren't we?
I just want to make some money. So
as humans, we have a remarkable capacity for strongly believing two completely incompatible things at once.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't. So yeah, well, I think we're going to have to cut the story short because I don't want this being War and Peace. So we need to go on to our recommendations of the week, and my one's a book called The Fourth Turning: An American Prophecy. It's about long-term trends and how trends repeat themselves in about an 80-year cycle. It's written by two authors that are two very interesting guys. I will have the link in the show notes. I recommend you either listen to it which I did. I've listened and read the book about 4 or 5 times. It gives balance to what's happening in America at the present moment. So, Heather, have you got a recommendation for the tribe?
It's more of a request. So I'm looking for mentors for my nonprofit. Anyone that's listening that can help, that wants to be a mentor for a whole bunch of eager students. If you're a developer, if you're a business person, if you know anything at all that you've learned in your career.
Well, that's me out of it, isn't it? I'm finished.
These people want to learn. My nonprofit is called Serenzi Global. We do technology education for underserved and underprivileged individuals. And the majority of the students this year are in African nations. But they're all around the world. And they're extremely eager to learn. Our mentors have a very low lift, usually like no more than like an hour or 2 a month. And it's all on your time. So so I will put a link in the chat for anyone that would like to help.
And Spencer, if you can make sure that's put in the Slack channel, that would be appreciated. So Spencer, have you got a recommendation in the new year for our beloved tribe?
I do. It's more hats to Sally, but I think I'm already there. My friend Munir Kamal just launched themes.gutenberghub.com, which is a rebake of the theme directory with an eye towards the reality that Gutenberg themes in particular can have all kinds of little clever things, like, for example, having the color schemes changeable by using an XML file. So I think that, along with that Frost idea that we talked about before the holiday, are steps in the right direction towards somebody else taking charge of how we find plugins and themes and how it all works, because we just can't sit around waiting for it to happen from Automatic. I mean, there's just a better way to do it. So this is something that's a real clever spin-off. And I think Justin Tadlock had written an article about this in the Tavern a day or two ago as well.
All right, I have to read that. I always like reading Justin's stuff. Sally, have you got something for the tribe?
Yes, I do. If you have clients like mine who send you tiny little inappropriate images and want you to use them as your featured image on your posts when you've told them a million times.
Tiny inappropriate images from people before, let me tell you.
Yeah, not that kind. But it's like, here's this 640 by 480 image. Can you use this one as the featured image that, I've told you 1,000 times needs to be at least 1,200 by 632. It's time consuming and annoying to try to get a larger version or the original, or for them to actually send it as an attachment and not in the body of the email. So one thing that will help you out if you are in that situation are the products at Topaz Labs. And in particular, there's one called Gigapixel AI. And it will enlarge your images and make them sharper at the same time. They also have a couple of other things, a sharpen and a denoise and some stuff to go with it. But really, the Gigapixel is the one I have been relying on.
Yeah, and also say I think I've done quite well controlling myself in this episode, being I'm on painkillers, because the last time I took a fair bit of legal drugs. It was quite a wild show. You were on it, weren't you? And I think John was. It was.
I think you should make it a habit. Maybe a little scotch.
I've been very
You've been very mellow, Jonathan. Yes.
I have. I mean, because it was a wild show last time I was on drugs, wasn't it? So
this show brought to you by codeine.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been watching Dope Stick lately too, so this is all very interesting.
So, Stephanie, have you got something for the tribe?
As a matter of fact, I do, tribe. I have an app that I found called Crisp, KRISP.ai, and it is a noise canceling, and I have used it for both directions. I have my assistant. Whatever
do I need to use it, Stephanie?
Well, we might need to cancel a little more than your background noise, Jonathan. I don't know. Anyway, I have my assistant who we co-work a lot. She has like some kind of fan or something that like I was getting headaches after working with her, and I put this on. You just click the button and it's gone. Like it's magical. And
some people say that after talking to me, Stephanie.
They have a headache. Yeah, I get that.
They've got a headache.
And then also on my mic, like now people don't hear my cat or the lawn being mowed next door, all that kind of stuff. It blocks it all out. So super useful for lots of things in our Zoom and video conferencing.
Yeah, I can see a few of my clients using that on me quite effectively.
They have some free. You get like a few hours free a month, and then the paid version is pretty reasonable too. So.
Oh well, that sounds really good. John, my beloved friend John, have you got something for the tribe?
Blessed John.
Yeah, this is an article that was in my pocket suggestions a couple of weeks ago. And this is, I'm a Black woman who presents as white. Here's what white people feel comfortable saying to me. And this lady is Black. Her parents are Black. You laugh, but it's funny. But she passes as white. And she's like, here's all these awful things that people feel comfortable saying to me. And it's really eye-opening. Well, honestly, it's a lot of stuff. But anyway, just go read it. It's pretty cool.
I'll make sure the link's there for Uncle Spencer.
Yeah, it's there for Spencer.
I posted it up there. What happened is I'm reading the article now, but like she just has like albinoism or something, or how did it work out?
Recessive gene.
Oh my God.
No, I'm serious.
She has white great grandparents like practically every Black person in America.
Well, I don't think about what Heather said about if I had a social media account when I was 19.
And we have to think about why that is. And that's a whole awful truth too.
Yeah. Thank God I didn't have one. So Tom, have you got a recommendation for the tribe? Tom?
Oh, something much, much more tame than some of these things. I found a really, really good virtual phone system, which is kind of popular out there, but it's called OpenPhone. And if you've ever struggled with like Teams, phone systems for Teams, routing calls, IVRs, this thing is awesome. Text messaging. It's a really, really killer, easy to use, very affordable platform for telephony. So.
Oh, that sounds really interesting. Thanks for that, Tom. We're going to wrap up the show. I want a quick chat with Tom, if he's got a moment with me. And thanks for joining the first show. If you really want to get involved, join us on the WP-Tonic Mastermind Facebook group page. Uncle Spencer, myself, and some of the other panel moderate it. And I'll be putting more content on that in the new year. and join us on the YouTube channel. Subscribe to that. That's really a great way to see. I put a ton of stuff on there. I'm all over the internet, tribe, all over there. We'll see you next week for another great roundtable show. We'll see you soon, folks. Bye. Right, let's press the button.
All